The impact on my life that this whole ordeal has had has been rather devastating. In that block, from the stop sign up until the end of the street, my family is the only black family in that street. There were police at my house with sirens and blue lights. In 4 vehicles, 8 officers to come and serve a letter with 4 cars. Neighbors are bound to be interested in what's going on. What's happening? Oh, it's that dark, says. My third-born son was already awake, preparing to go to school, and he comes to the room. Tata, kukhona abantu gating. I rush to the gate. I find 3 vehicles. Do you have to come at this time of the day and sound a siren? They're not only waking me up, they're waking my neighbors up. Drug enforcement unit branded vehicles. Clearly, if you're going to be visited by a drug enforcement unit, it says perhaps you are part of a drug syndicate. One of my neighbors actually felt the need to come and talk to me. Came just to ask what's going on. I was like, no, man, it's work issues. It's work issues. He says, are you sure? I'm like, no, don't worry. Almost I work for the municipality, so no, these are my guys. All these vehicles and members, all of them fell under the command of Brigadier Mkhwanazi. It was intended to humiliate me and my family and to cast aspersions on my person, my dignity and my character. Everything that had happened to me, I don't believe that if I was not in the church, I would have been able to survive it. And that soothed my spirit. Commissioners, this theme effectively talks to the harassment that I have endured from the 7th of September until I think the 8th of March. On the 7th of September, when I was served with the pre-suspension letter that we've looked at earlier on, I was approached by 3 Metropolitan officers. You recall, commissioners, that I described how the offices are situated. I was in the building where Mr. Gxasheka sits, and then I was approached by 3 Metropolitan officers at the parking lot. It's an open public area where I was served with a letter saying I must go home. I come from my boss's offices instead of in the privacy of an office. I was given a letter in public with Brigadier Mkhwanazi observing and monitoring the situation when I was served with that letter. On the 11th of September, in the early evenings, it was already dark, something to 7, I received a call from my wife indicating that there were police at my house with sirens and blue lights. I stay, commissioners, in a relatively quiet suburb, Faramia in Benoni. And the street that I stay in is next to my house is a estate. It has about only 4 houses. In that block, from the stop sign up until the end of the street, my family is the only black family in that street. So you can imagine sirens and blue lights at night. Then I spoke to the inspector who was there to say, why come to my house? You know, I mean, you guys have my contact details. I'm not even at the house at that particular point. When this happens, I just left Benoni town. I was driving to a church meeting because I'm also a leader in the church. I was driving to a church meeting. I'm on the N12 going to Benoni, to Davidton. And I speak to this inspector, and he says, no, but this is the instruction we got. Sorry, DH, you know, this is the instruction we got. Got from you. From who? From Gxasheka, that you must come to your house at this time. I'm like, but to come and serve a letter with 4 cars. You know, you will see on page 36, paragraph 119, that the people that were at my house were in 4 vehicles, 8 officers. All of them alighted the vehicles to serve a 2-page letter.
What are you alluding to when you mention that on your street you are the only black family?
Whether we like it or not, racial connotations exist. If indeed you are going to come to a person's house with sirens and blue lights, and you are going to see, Commissioner, as I go along, that indeed this, you know, it's a build-up. But if you're going to come to a person's house, you know, neighbors are bound to be interested in what's going on. You know, they are bound to be interested with what's happening. Oh, it's that dark, it's a haze. You know, but I'm going to illustrate it even further with another incident, other incidents.
I get you. I did think that's what you were alluding to.
Yes. So I spoke to the inspector and suggested to him that I am on my way to Davidton. Why don't we do this? Why don't you leave my house? Because you have no business at my house. Your business is with me. Leave my house. Let us meet at Davidton police station, you know, which is not far from my church. So we can meet there, and then you can serve me. It's not a problem. He agreed. You know, because he was actually talking to me on my wife's phone, and it was on speaker. So my wife is standing inside the gate. They are outside. She hears the conversation. And then hardly 5 minutes, 2-3 minutes thereafter, my wife phones back. You know, no, these guys have left. What do you mean they've left? No, after he spoke to you, he called somebody, and then I could hear him saying, okay, HOD, no, it's fine, HOD. So they were then instructed that, no, we're not going to do that. Leave that letter with the wife. So the man insisted that my wife must sign for receipt. Now, my wife has got nothing to do with employment processes. In all the 25 years of our marriage, she has never had to deal with anything that has to do with employment processes until that day.
Mr. Nciza, I mean, it may sound silly, but I imagine that this letter would have been carried by just one of the officers in the car, in one car, right?
Yes.
Physical possession of the letter.
Yes.
So you would have had 4 vehicles with 8 officers.
Yes.
There's a cost involved
Yes.
in having 4 vehicles and 8 officers coming to deliver one letter that is in one car.
In the hands of one person.
Yes. Am I correct?
Yes.
Do you think that whether the HOD or whoever might have had concerns that they may not be safe when they come to deliver the letter, and so they need to come in numbers because this might have been a risky operation. Do you think there might have been a basis for that? If we try to make sense of this, which on the face of it appears like a fruitless and wasteful expenditure, actually. But if we try and make sense of it, do you think that it may have been informed by an anticipation that there might be some risk involved in delivering this to you?
If, Madam Commissioner, Gxasheka didn't know my house, he had never been to my house, didn't know the area that I stayed in, I might even venture such a thought. But this is a person that had been to my house. She knew exactly where I stay, the environment in which I stay. She knew me. At no point would there be a basis to believe that indeed I would pose a risk to a police officer. Police officers that I've worked with for all these years.
Thank you.
So it was not about risk. It was about humiliation.
At that stage, you were still an employee of the municipality. So if they wanted to serve a letter on you, they could have summoned you to the office to come and sign the letter. You were still an employee on suspension.
Not even on suspension. Remember, Commissioner, I have not yet actually been suspended.
Oh, that was before, yes.
Because this now is to serve me with a suspension.
The suspension letter, yeah.
Exactly. Besides me going to their offices, and commissioners, I've dealt with service of documents. Myself in my office, we've utilized the EMPD to go and serve documents on especially senior employees. Firstly, would have a person or two people in one car. There's never been a point wherein you send a squadron to an official, But secondly, we would give those people that person's cell number so that they phone the person to say that, hey, we need to come and serve you this particular document that comes from HR or comes from the city manager's office. Make arrangements. Can we meet somewhere? That has always been the arrangement. We meet somewhere, you serve, they signing, and that's it. But even after I'd spoken to the inspector and there's an arrangement, there is this HOD, and the only people that I can think of would have been Gxasheka and or Behari. But those people had said that it was Gxasheka that had instructed them to come to my house. I then sent, because now when my wife told me that this is what had happened, I then sent Gxasheka WhatsApps.
Page 396, Mr. Nciza, 396.
Commissioners, I sent 4 messages. The first message I sent was at 18:43, in which I asked the question, why send police to my house at night? And then I continue in Xhosa, utheni uhlukumeza usapho lwami? Bakwenze ntoni? Why are you harassing my family? What have they done to you? And then I sent another WhatsApp at 18:46. Sirens and blue lights at my house, Linda, causing a scene at my house, scaring my children and my wife. Then I sent another WhatsApp turning the Metro Police into a security branch of old, where people would be raided at night by police. Then the last one I sent was at 7 o'clock. Kulungile, akuqhutywe. It's okay, let's proceed. Now, as you can see, commissioners, all of them are one ticks. You know, all of these messages that I sent to Ms. Gxasheka were one ticks.
Please forgive me for a bit of levity on something so serious. I see that 2 of the messages are deleted. Those were probably expletives.
Yeah, they were. Honestly, no, they were correct. I had written them in some rather crude Xhosa, with then I was like, no, but this is my boss, so I deleted them. Quite honestly, I was really vexed by this, Then I reflect on paragraph 115 that I sent Ms. Gxasheka these messages questioning the conduct of sending police with blue lights and sirens to my house at night and thus harassing my family. Later, my wife advised me, honestly, commissioners, I was not aware. My wife advised me that if the message has one tick and you no longer can view the person's profile picture, it meant the person has blocked you on WhatsApp. I was not aware, because when I came back from church, I proceeded. I had a church engagement. I could not just leave it. When I came back from church, and now I'm sitting with my wife and we're talking about this situation, and then I'm like, no, but in messages. She's like, I've sent her messages, but she's not responding. And she's like, okay, let me see. I show her the phone. She's like, did you have her profile picture before this? I'm like, yes, I did. She says, you are blocked. And since that day, I remain blocked. And again, this is a suspension process, Commissioner. It's not a termination, and nowhere near termination at that stage. For my superior then to block me in the midst of this conduct, and then I get blocked. I'm like, oh, okay. Also, to just link that, on the 7th, I received the pre-suspension letter. On the 8th, when I tried to send an email talking about irregularities in the pre-suspension letter that I picked up, I discovered that I was also blocked on the email system of the municipality. I could not access the system of the municipality. So in my view, it then meant that I was actually suspended from the 7th, because we ordinarily don't block people on the system.
Just remind us, the reasons for your suspension were 2, the qualifications and you approving invoices contrary to a memorandum.
Yes.
So, because of that, 4 police cars in sirens and blue lights are sent to your house.
Yes.
This is something you could have received the next day when you go to work.
Yes. The next morning, on the 12th of September, we were awakened by a siren at the gate. And this is around 6 a.m. in the morning. My third-born son was already awake, preparing to go to school, and he comes to the room. Tata, kukhona abantu ke-18. About 18, and I think at that time he was doing grade 8. So he's like, but there are people at the gate, I wake up, I rush to the gate, I find 3 vehicles, branded vehicles of the Metropolitan at 6 a.m. in the morning. Again, I get into a discussion with them to say, but why? What's going on? Do you have to come at this time of the day and sound a siren? They're not only waking me up, they're waking my neighbors up. And this is a very quiet and serene street. Now, they indicated that they were instructed by Gxasheka to collect the laptop of the municipality at that time. I'm like, but this is not even working hours. Why specifically at this time? No, we were given instructions last night that must come here and collect this laptop.
You
At
also,
this
you
time,
also mentioned that they had this time it was 3 vehicles.
3 vehicles with 6. Each vehicle has 2 people inside it. There were 3 vehicles that came to my house at that time of the day. That is reflected on my table on page 37. Then it
So
went
I'm
on.
suggesting, Mr. Nciza, to the chairperson that maybe you're being unfair to these 3 vehicles. The one was going to carry the charger, the other one the bag, the other one the laptop. Be kind.
It's possible, huh? It's possible. It's possible, Madam Commissioner, that my laptop is heavy, and therefore they needed 6 people
See,
to come and collect
I
it.
know this is serious. I
Yeah.
don't mean to make light of it.
But again, these officers indicated, Madam Commissioner, that their actions are per the instructions to the letter of Gxasheka. She told them that they must come at that time. They got the instructions the previous night to say that tomorrow morning, when you come on duty, start at Mr. Nciza's house. So they clocked in at my house effectively. Then on the 10th of December, I received a call from an inspector, Julius, who requested to meet me to serve me with an extension of my suspension. I requested that we meet at the Faramir Pick and Pay parking lot because I was at the Pick and Pay. I was busy with some groceries. And then he calls me to say, hey, Menir, I get a brief for you. I have a letter for you. Can we meet? And I know Inspector Julius. It's a person that I've worked with on a number of instances. And then we met. I said, you know what, it's fine. And fortunately for me, in this particular occasion, they were driving unmarked vehicles. They came, we met, then they provided me with the letter. They were in an unmarked vehicle and they were wearing civilian clothes. But in this instance, there were 3 members. Julius was alone in his car, but then he was accompanied by a second car. Again, I signed for the thing, they left. The one that then became, or rather before they left, I asked the villagers why they need to use so many cars when they come to me. He indicated that he was instructed to use at least 2 cars with 4 members to come to me. Okay, it's an instruction. The one that commissioners, I think, was a bit, okay. Let me not characterize it. Let me just tell you what happened. On the 23rd of January 2024, there was no investigation, firstly, that was ever conducted regarding the allegations that I was suspended for. No investigation. I was then formally charged in the sense that a charge sheet was brought with 4 Drug Enforcement Unit branded vehicles in the middle of the day. It was around 2 p.m.
What exactly does the branding say? Does it make reference to drugs at all, or is it just EMPD?
It's EMPD, Drug Enforcement Unit, written in big blue letters. And I recall when they arrived, because they came and they did their siren thing, I came out. It was a siren thing again. It was right in the middle of the day, around 2. Came out, there were some neighbors of mine who were taking a walk. They stopped, of course, to see what's going on. And here comes this drug lord to come and receive a charge sheet from 4 drug enforcement unit vehicles.
But the charge sheet, even though it's a drug unit cars, the charge sheet still relates to the invoices and qualifications.
Exactly. But in this instance, Chair, one of my neighbors actually felt the need to come and talk to me. Came just to ask what's going on. I was like, no, man, it's work issues. It's work issues. He says, are you sure? I'm like, no, don't worry. Most I work for the municipality, so no, these are my guys. And they're driven off that time. I'm like, no, these are my guys, don't worry, it's part of my work, Because, clearly, if you're going to be visited by a drug unit, drug enforcement unit, it says perhaps you are part of a drug syndicate. I detail on paragraph 119 further instances in that table that on the 10th of February, again, I had people coming to my house to serve a further extension, an extension on top of the extension of suspension. And then on the 13th of February, the municipality in their charge sheet had invited me to a pre-trial hearing. I said that is not regulated by the prescripts of the DPCA, nor even the regulations on discipline, and therefore I don't see the need for us to have a pre-trial hearing. But then Julius, when I met with him on the very same 13th, because after I did not attend, they then sent Julius with a new letter where now they were changing the disciplinary procedure, because it was going to be a normal case. Then all of a sudden now they want to invoke what is in the DPCA in terms of clause 9, something called the summary procedure. Yeah, clause 9, an optional summary procedure. It's on page 12 of the DPCA. They wanted to do an optional summary procedure, which would have meant that instead of having a trial type of arrangement, a proper hearing, you just simply make submissions, and the chairperson takes a decision based on submissions, of which I in any event, objected thereto. But De Villiers indicated to me that your matter is hot, yo. We were stopped from going to other operations that we're supposed to go to. We were stopped and instructed to go to the head office where the disciplinary hearing was going to be held. And 4 vehicles, their squad, was then told that they must not go to do law enforcement processes. They must come to the head office and guard the head office because my case is sitting.
Was this for the
pre-trial?
Pre-hearing?
Yeah, I was like, okay, fine. On the 1st of March, when they served me the letter contemplated termination of employment, again, 2 vehicles with 4 members. And then on the 8th of March, when they attempted to serve the unsigned letter of termination, they had 4 members and 2 vehicles. I record, Chairperson, that the total number of EMPD officials that were sent to me in the various occasions come to 48 people. And the number of vehicles that were used to serve me with single-page, 2-page letters comes to 23. And it must be noted, interestingly, that all these vehicles and members, all of them fell under the command of Brigadier Mkhwanazi. It was not people from bylaw enforcement, it was not people from regional operations, it was specifically people from specialized services.
Did the drug enforcement unit also fall under
Yes.
specialized?
It also fell under Mkhwanazi. I must say that all of this was completely unnecessary and unpleasant, you would imagine. It was intended to humiliate me and my family and to cast aspersions on my person, my dignity and my character. Mr. Gxasheka was doing all of this knowing fully well where I stayed, my role in the community, and leadership in the church. Commissioners, the impact on my life that this whole ordeal has had has been rather devastating. Professionally, my standing in the local government sector has been severely dented by this experience. As much as I was the divisional head employee relations in Ekurhuleni, but I was also the provincial chairperson of the Salga Human Resource Practitioners Forum, which also made me the lead or chief negotiator of the employers in local government in Gauteng, which is a role that I had held in the sector for more than 10 years as the chairperson of that forum and leading negotiations on behalf of all the municipalities with the trade unions in the bargaining council, Gauteng division, Central Gauteng division. Of course, except for Tshwane and Johannesburg. I don't want those colleagues to say that I represented them. I represented all the other municipalities. These two municipalities had their own divisions where they negotiated. But I was also the leader of the employer in Ekurhuleni on negotiations with organized labor since 2003. In December 2022, I had received a 20-year recognition award for my contribution to the bargaining council in terms of its establishment, its progression into a fully fledged bargaining council, its engagements in terms of stabilizing the local government sector. I was one of the people that was actually awarded for my 20 years service in the bargaining council because I served in the executive committee of the bargaining council at the national level. I've served, and at the time of my dismissal, I was still a member of the employer party in terms of the bargaining committee at the national level. I was also the chairperson of the technical advisory committee of the bargaining council, a committee that dealt with processes of how the rules in the bargaining council are to be implemented, the appointment of commissioners. I was the chairperson of such a committee. But the treatment that I received sought to annihilate my career just because people had to protect a criminal enterprise. Personally, the impact on my wife, my mother and my children, as well as my broader family, has been immense. Because, when this whole thing erupted in 2023, my name was brandished all over the place. I was in newspapers, I was on TV, people had issued statements about my suspension and all sorts of things. So my family then had to now respond to a situation that was created to place me as a person of questionable integrity. And indeed, my family has been stigmatized by the flagrant lies that have been spewed, impugning my image and standing in society. Communally, this ordeal had resulted in an attempt to remove me from ministry in the Anglican Church, whereas some congregants had invoked a process of a petition due to the lies that have been spread and the falsehoods that have been spread regarding my name. A petition was then lodged with the office of the Bishop of the Anglican Church in the Highveld Diocese, seeking to remove me from all ministerial positions in the church. At the time, I was a church warden in a parish, and I'm also a lay canon, which is an advisor to the bishop in the Anglican Church. So a petition premised on a notion that I had been dismissed for fraud and dishonesty, was then submitted in an attempt to indeed make me sever my ties with the church. And this was all because of the shenanigans that are happening in the city of Ekurhuleni.
What came of that attempt, if you don't mind saying?
Cool heads prevailed. Cool heads prevailed. As much as there was that petition, I was summoned to the bishop's office. I sat with the dean of the cathedral, and we had I think 2.5-hour conversation where I was able to also, without getting into the type of detail that I've gone into in these proceedings, but just to alert and highlight to him the intricacies that are involved, and the fact that what is in the newspapers is not always what is actually prevailing, unfortunately. And quite honestly, commissioners, everything that had happened to me, I don't believe that if I was not in the church, I would have been able to survive it. The fact that I was suspended, fortunately, the rector of my parish at the time held a meeting with me because my name was all over the place, called me into a meeting. We had a 3-hour session, one-on-one, and that then provided me with a pillar, and I poured my life, my time, my resources into devoting myself to the service of ministry in the church. And that soothed my spirit.